G'day folks, Ryan Thompson, Real Estate Brilliance. Today I'm talking to you about making phone calls. Everybody talks about it. Making phone calls, change your business, double your productivity, make more money, double your income, make more phone calls. That's all you need to do. But it seems a lot simpler than it actually is, because we've got to face our fears, we've got to find time, we've got to know what to say, and we've got to get through it. And that's what everybody seems to struggle with. So of course the first thing you need to overcome is the fear, but usually when you're focusing on your goals and obviously your vision and what you want to achieve, you can overcome fear pretty quickly. But for the purpose of today's chat, I want to walk you through the different stages of phone calls, because once you understand that, it can be a lot easier for you to do it and get through it, and actually enjoy it the way I love making phone calls. I truly do love prospecting and making phone calls. So you want to get yourself to that stage, because that's where the money is, of course. So I've drawn something out here, and hope you can see it. But obviously, it all starts with a cold call. So until somebody knows and at least likes you, it's going to be a cold call. There's no way of jumping from a cold to a warm call. It doesn't work unless you already know them and like them, and they know and like you. So at some point, you got to make cold calls. And cold calls can be someone you've never met before. It can be people you've met and never called before for years. It can even be sellers and buyers that you've dealt with and haven't called for years. That certainly makes them move more into the cold section. But you can revive those as well, which I'm not going to go into today. But let's talk about this cold call. So the great thing about a cold call is it's really only ask cold the first time you call them. And you've got to explain why you're calling them and what you're offering. So if you're obviously a real estate agent, which most of you guys are, it's, look, just thought I'd give you a call. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm giving you the option to utilize my services, which is appraising property, giving you feasibility study on investment properties, possibly giving you some appraisals on rentals and investment opportunities, and maybe health checks on mortgages. I can put you in touch with a mortgage broker and things like that. But anything relating to property, I can help you with. And that the service is usually free until obviously you need to take that to the next level and sell something, in which case that's where I make my money. So of course you're not going to have that conversation, but that's the kind of conversation that you're going to have. So basically you're offering something of value. So Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if you allow me to contact you, I will service you for free, and hopefully for one day serving your real estate needs. So that's kind of the objective of the phone call. Now, how you finish that call off is, are you happy for me to stay in touch with you, obviously, and service you? Yes. When would you like me to give you a call? 3 or 6 months, okay? And they'll usually say 6 months until they get to know you a bit more, and then they might say 3 months. And so that's the first cold call. Now, when you call them a second time, it's, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Ryan Thompson from Real Estate Brilliance. How are you doing today? Get them talking. You asked me to call you round about now to give you an update on the market and let you know what's happening. And then you'll give them the free information, or talk to them about what's happening in the area or what seasonally is happening. And then obviously you'll go down the lines of asking, have they given any thought to doing anything in the near future, or whether they wanted an update, or whether they were interested in being part of your referral club. So you'd have a bit of a script along those lines, which obviously engages a little bit of servicing and work, and but most of them will say no, and then you move on to no problem. Great chatting, and I'm happy to update you again in 3 or 6 months what suits you best. And that's how the calls continue to go. Now, a lot of people don't continue calling them, and they drop off, and they call sometimes, they call and they feel awkward and they feel embarrassed to call back. That is just something that happens with real estate agents, and it happens a lot. I understand that. So what you've got to do is, if you've been doing that, that's okay, because you've got to make the phone calls, is you just go back and say, look, seems like a lifetime since we spoke, but look, this is what's happening at the moment, and you pick it up and go again. And if you drop it off again, well, then you drop it off again, and then you just do that again. It seems like a long time since we spoke, but here it is. This is what's happening in the marketplace, and just carry on. They won't pay as much attention to it as you think they might, even if you haven't spoken to them in a couple of years. So I know it's, for us, seems like a bad thing, but we're just one speck in their whole sort of ecosystem, so they won't really remember, and they don't know you're supposed to call them back every 3 to 6 months, so you'll be okay. So just go ahead and do it. All right. Now, the great thing is once you've made 1 or 2 phone calls, I've put their 1 to 3 calls are cold, and then after that, you're dealing with people and they start liking you because you're updating them on information, and this is where, of course, the relationship starts to be built. And they start to like you because they're getting value from those phone calls. So you've always got to be calling them with an update and giving them some value. So make sure, and also complimenting them, talking about the seasonal promotions and things you've got going on. You have to update them. And then, of course, obviously you'll always pop the question. I know it's a long shot, but are you doing anything in the next 6 to 12 months? Yes or no? When last did you get an update? Or do you know anybody thinking of selling? So we've also got to bring it back to business with each call as well, because the last thing you want to do is have this friendly conversation with them and then, see a sign on their property and then, say to them, well, what? And they said, well, you didn't ask me. So we've got to ask the question. We are real estate agents, so don't think that it's a given that just because we're giving them a call that they'll list their property with us. We have to ask them what's going on in their lives and when do they think they might be shifting. And that's the relationship calls. And like sometimes you might call people 2 or 3 times and then they'll need to list. Sometimes you'll call people 200 times and then they'll be needing to list. But that's the relationship phase. So that's the cold phase we just spoke about. Then, of course, the relationship phase, which is the next. Now, your goal, with the relationship phase is to dig for people who are thinking of selling. The more people you call, the more relationships you have, the more people you'll come into contact with who are actually making a move and doing something in real estate, whether it's an investment, whether it's a development, whether it's a mortgage, or whether it's a purchase, a sale, or whatever the case may be, upsize, downsize, whatever the case may be. So it's just numbers, So don't get too sort of freaked out about, I'm not getting anything. If you make the phone calls, you build the relationships, 3 to 5% of people are moving and selling at any given time. So out of every 100 calls you make, 5 people are in real estate mode. And sometimes more. So just stick to the formula and it will work for you. So the relationship phase is very important, but we're pulling out hot leads. Now the hot leads are a separate database. These are people that through your calls, let's say you're making 50 calls a week, which is simply 10 calls per working day. That would be enough to probably write nearly $1 million in gross commission. I promise you. Obviously, if you wanted to write more, then maybe 100 calls a week. But it's actually that simple. But the goal is to pull out every week, 3 or 4 people who are thinking of selling in the next 3 to 6 months, and you just create this hot lead list. Okay, now some of the greats, including, what I used to do was just create this massive hot lead list. Now, the hot lead list is a separate prospecting activity because now you're calling people who are thinking of selling and people who are in real estate mode. So you'll be talking to them. Some of them are daily, some of them are weekly, some of them monthly, but you'll basically be bringing them closer and closer to getting the listing. Now, the sooner you get in front of them and secure the listing, the better. But you will have some people who are 12 months out, 8 months, 9 months, 12, and so forth. Some of the greats that I work with carry a file underneath them or on their phone, and they can pull up 200 or 300 hot leads at any given time. So the best real estate agents are running with hot leads. Guys, it's not something that gets spoken about. Some people call it pipeline. I call it hot leads. People who you've groomed from cold to relationships being, lukewarm, warm, and then you've got hot. They're actually doing something, and these are the people you kind of sink your teeth into and you never let go. And then, of course, that gives you listings and sales. But Guys, I really want to focus on this because a lot of people because they don't do a lot of this, they kind of never get to the relationship side of things, and as a result, they don't get any pipeline, or they get in struggle. People who do this, they don't do it effectively enough, don't do enough, don't do as many, don't do as regular. So as a result, they don't have the hot leads, and really only 2 to 5% of the whole real estate industry have got this down pat and have a long list of people who are thinking of selling in the next 3 to 6 months. And this is where the gold is. So guys, that's my little blurb for you guys there today. And, obviously the idea is to get them from there to there. So I hope that's added value to you guys. And, if you need anything, or you're looking to do further training with us, or do my agent success system, or get some personal coaching, or you want me to work with your sales team, feel free to send us a message or jump onto my website, or, just give me a call, 0422 931 582. Cheers.